What's up, everybody? Giancarlo Bodoni here with BJ Fanatics, and today's topic is going to be outside de la Riva, no gi. Okay, so with outside de la Riva being an outside position guard, typically in jiu-jitsu, we like to spend our time in inside position as it relates to no gi jiu-jitsu. But at some point or another, we always find ourselves in de la Riva, right? At some point or another, our training partner gets a foot to the inside and we're forced to play some sort of an outside position guard. So what we want to do is we want to utilize this instructional to complement our inside position guards with a good, effective, and efficient outside de la Riva guard play. The primary focus of this instructional, as it has been with all the previous instructionals in this series, has been the idea of incorporating classic jiu-jitsu guard play that all chain off of each other, right? All the different positions should be chaining off of each other. So with the exclusion of wrestle-ups, we focus on the pure and classical jiu-jitsu techniques that allow us to play an open guard that will ultimately set up opportunities for us to, in a future instructional, focus on wrestling up. But for the purposes of this instructional, we're focusing on outside position and developing a strong and classical outside de la Riva guard game.
All right, guys, so let's start off with looking at, how we can utilize de la Riva to get us into guards that are going to be a little bit more conventional in no-gi. Not that de la Riva is not conventional no-gi or not useful no-gi, but most of the guards that we, at least early on in the no-gi game, start to associate with leg locks and leg entanglements are inside position guards. And de la Riva can be used really, really well for the purpose of helping us get into inside position, right? So you get to situations where, maybe I'm playing a seated guard, for example, on Placido, and this guy forces me into a position where I'm on my back. Maybe he puts the knee in the middle, maybe he gets to an angle, and he makes it difficult for me to get into an inside position initially, right? I might be forced to play from the outside. Okay. And let's say my strategy would be, hey, I want to get to, let's say, for example, an X guard or an Ashigurami or whatever the case is. I want to get inside and start looking to use that to go to my attacks. I have to use the de la Riva to some capacity to be able to do that. Right. So from a situation where I go in and we get a hold of the de la Riva, the biggest issue with the de la Riva, guys, is that, it's a good guard, but there are some opportunities that your training partner has to attack you from this position. Say, for example, he backsteps into this leg, or he pulls the other leg into an Ashigurami. So there are things that I have to be aware of. That's the one danger to outside position, is that you are vulnerable on your legs. And I have no upper body grips to hold him. Okay, I could grab a hold of his wrist, but he's going to peel it off in a second. Right, so I won't be able to hold any of these upper body grips for more than a second or two. So the question becomes, from this position, off balance is the most important thing. I cannot control his upper body through the use of my hands for more than 1 or 2 seconds. Okay, maybe 2 to 3 if I have a 2-on-1. But the question becomes, okay, the second that I either get to an upper body grip, I have to create an off balance, or if I can't get to an upper body grip, so in most cases you can't, you have to create an off balance, and we indirectly control his upper body through use of the floor, right? His having to support his body weight with his hands is what's going to allow me to control his upper body, right? I can't directly control his upper body like I would with a gi, with sleeves and with collars, right? So that was, for me personally, one of the biggest adaptations I had to make in no-gi, okay? So I just want to start off by conceptualizing that. Now let's talk about a basic way that we can go about off balancing and going from an outside position to an inside position. So we'll start with just a basic Ashigurami first. So I get into this position here, outside de la Riva. A couple things that are important. We want our hip glued to the side of our partner's ankle. We want to grip like this. We want to grip on our partner's ankle like this. And this foot, it has to play dynamically. I don't want it too high to where my partner can guide it across. But I also don't want it here too low to where he can start to step over it. So I have to actively be pulling my knee to my chest, and this foot is going to play from the hip to the inside of the thigh to the back of the knee. These are going to be our 3 locations, and you're going to kind of play those dynamically on each other. So we're in this position here. I did a good job of getting to an angle. I start off with the foot on the hip. Okay? from this position, we're going to either extend our training partner's leg, right? So the foot on the hip is just more of like a maintenance point, right? It's a point of contact, so my foot's just not out in space. So we can use it as a starting position, but ultimately when I want to create an off balance, I either do it by pulling the leg towards me or I do it by pushing the leg away from me, okay? So I'm in this position here, and now what I want to look to do is I want to look to create some extension to get his legs wide, because if the legs are not wide, I'm going to have a hard time tilting him and putting his hands to the floor, okay? So I'm either going to draw the leg out and tilt with a nice tight hook, okay? Or I'm going to push on the inside of the knee and extend it away from me, okay? So it's either out or it's slightly away. And when I do this, I give a little bit of a rock up, nothing crazy, and then I tilt to the side. Now you can see that from here, Placido's right hand is on the floor. So I indirectly control his upper body with the ground. His foot should come off the floor. I'm grabbing the ankle. You can also feel free to grab the heel. The foot should be off the floor. And I could create nice tension with this hook to where there's no daylight between my foot and my partner's hamstring here. I actively extend with this leg. So when he tries to use his hands to clear my leg, I make it difficult because I'm extending that leg. And then now from here, this clears a path for my foot to pummel to the inside. I post a hand on the lat. And then from here, we go 1 and 2. And I'm able to get back into my inside position. This is going to take a lot more time for him to deal with than it would if I just stayed on my back in a De La Riva, right? So now I chain an outside position with an inside position. So keeping those concepts in mind, do it one more time from a different angle. I'm in here, and I do a good job of getting a slight angle on Placido with this De La Riva hook. You see that I kind of camp my body slightly to the side. I get a grip nice and low on my training partner's ankle, and I start off with the far foot right there on the hip. Remember, don't have it out in space. Don't just have it anywhere where he can draw it into leg lock, where he can draw it across into a leg drag, where he can start using it to stack man, do all sorts of things like this. This is problematic. So again, we're always looking to have, at the bare minimum, 3 points of contact, my 2 feet and my hand. This hand's always going to be framing, depending upon what he's going to do. I might be able to make grips on him, whatever the case is. From here, this time I'll use a hook behind the knee. So we make a transition to where I extend that leg out. I give a little rock up and I tilt. If you can get to both legs initially, awesome. But ultimately, because I want an Ashigurami, I want to get a little bit of distance by putting that hand on the lat muscle. I extend him out and away, and then from here we pummel that top leg in. If you feel, let's just rotate a little. If you feel that you did a good job of off balancing with a hook, but he's pushing back into you, it's totally fine for us to extend, tilt, and then I would recommend further pushing that leg away. Now, you probably won't rotate that far away, so just try to keep coming into me. Yeah, but I can see I can maintain that distance like this, okay? Then from here, I extend, get the 2 hands to the floor, that foot pummels to the inside. As he goes to pressure back in towards me, it's an easy thing for me to connect my legs and go right into a good leg entanglement. One more time, full speed. We come out, I get a nice hook, grab a hold of the ankle. We're playing around here. He's trying to push my leg down. I'm always trying to make sure that I maintain contact with this leg. He pushes it down. I tilt him out to the side. And then from this position, I extend, pummel leg through. All right, and now we're into an Ashigurami. And we can start setting up our attacks, going from outside position with the De La Riva to inside position with the leg entanglement. All right, guys, now let's look at a technique that we're going to look at utilizing a couple of other things that we're going to chain off of it, but we're going to utilize it in this context of getting our foot to the inside and getting back to inside position. So essentially what we're going to look to do is we're going to off-balance our training partner in the opposite direction to then get back into the leg pummel that we just saw, okay? So what we're going to do is going to be, maybe I got to do a position here where I'm in this De La Riva and, I'm trying to extend my partner. Maybe he's pushing my ankle down or whatever the case is, because a lot of times he's going to be looking to push this ankle down, okay? And I feel that I just can't get him going this way, okay? The base is a little too stable. So whenever I see that he goes to push the ankle down, from here what we're going to do is we're just going to cross our 2 ankles where the De La Riva leg goes underneath. So the leg that was originally on the hip comes underneath and it hooks right into the hamstring, kind of like a reverse De La Riva hook. And then the De La Riva leg, the outside De La Riva leg is just going to come in and we're going to cross underneath. Okay. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to hit a move that kind of is similar to a knee lever, where my intention is to rotate and bow my training partner's knees to the outside, with the ultimate goal being to not just stumble him, but to touch that hand on the floor. Okay, we won't always be able to do that, but if we can do that, there's going to be a gap right here that's going to open up. It's going to give us an opportunity to take him back in this direction as he goes to overcorrect himself. Okay, so remember, anytime you can off balance in multiple directions, and you chain one off balance on the other, as he goes to overcorrect himself, we'll have a greater opportunity to amplify the strength of the off balance. So I'm in this position here. I'm trying to push my training partner away. Maybe he comes back in and he pushes that leg down. We cross our ankles. Right off of the ankles being crossed, we just pull our knees to our chest. We pinch them and we rotate him out in this direction. Right as my partner starts to come back into me, what I would like to do is bring a hand to the lat muscle, and then from there, start guiding my partner out to the side. And that's going to give me an opportunity, again, to start repummeling that foot to the inside. Once we pummel the foot to the inside, we have the inside position. Just for the purposes of this video, we're just going to go back into Hashigurami, but you could go into other variations, right? You could start switching off the X legs and all sorts of other things. Whatever you want to do once you get into inside position, which we cover in different instructionals, right? But the idea is we use the De La Riva as a means of getting to those other forms of guard where we go between our partner's legs. So I'm in this position here. I'm playing my push and pull. Maybe from here I was able to touch his hand to the floor. This guy quickly recovers, and right when he comes back, he stuffs that leg and just tilt this way. Really focus on, come back a little bit. Yeah. Focus on from here, crossed feet, pinch the knees, take the hand off the floor, a slight pull of the knees. That starts to get the weight onto the tips of his toes so that I can rotate him out in this direction. If you notice, when the foot's flat and heavy, when I go to rotate him, he can kind of hold his base a little bit easier. It's hard for me to get a full off balance. So from here, I go in, he stuffs it, I give a little tug towards me, and then a rotation outwards. And you can even post a hand here to make it hard for him to come back into you. Remember, his weight's being supported by this hand. So it's not like it's going to be a situation where he just bounces back. You can control that distance, and then as he goes to bounce back, we slip it in, we take him all the way to the other side, and we bring a foot to the inside. Okay, once the foot comes to the inside, like I said, you can switch off into any other form, okay, of inside position guard. It could be a butterfly ashi, it could be an X variation, it could be standard ashi, or whatever else you want to do, okay, from that position. The main thing is we go from the outside to the inside. Okay, so one more time. We come out. We're trying to off-balance our partner. We're trying to tilt him in this direction. He's recovering. He stuffs. We tug. He's already coming towards us, and we push him this way. When I tug him towards me, as he goes to correct himself, so we pushed, he came in towards us. We pull, because he's already coming towards us. Okay? Maybe he doesn't even go that far, right? Because it was just two off balances, right? If he came that far, we could switch to other things, which we'll talk about in a second. But I pushed him. He came towards us. We pulled him. He resists, sits back on the heels. That's when we start to go in and we start to amplify each off balance as we chain one with the other. He goes to come back. We switch off to the lat. Foot goes to the inside position. And then from there, we're able to get into our partner's legs with Hashigurami or any sort of leg entanglement that will require our feet to be on the inside. All right, guys, let's look at utilizing that same knee lever technique, okay, to go in and to get our foot to the inside. This time when we pummel from the outside, so right off of the knee lever, as opposed to letting him come back, we're going to do it straight from the knee lever. Okay, so with the first one, you know, we took our training partner one way and we used the idea of kind of amplifying and stacking the off balances on each other. This time, we're in this position here. And again, this knee lever is always going to work best if we can start to pull weight onto the toes and get him reacting to where he doesn't want to come, okay, too far overhead. So usually that happens in a live situation when, you know, we're moving our training partner around and then from here he stuffs our foot, he's coming back in. We talked about that little tug. That little tug puts a bend in his knee, to where from here, when I go to push him backwards, I can bow that knee outwards. Okay. As I go to bow that knee outwards from here, what we're going to find is that that hand's supported on the floor. We can go in and we can start looking to post on either one of our training partner's shoulder to get them a little bit further away from us, okay? And then now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to remove that De La Riva hook. We're going to pull our knee to our chest, and we're just going to put it right there on the inside. Right here from this inside position, now my 2 feet are in, so when he goes to recover, we go back to the lat muscle, we guide him over the shoulder, and then from there, we're back in good position, ready to start our attacks, okay, from the Ashigarami, or like I said, any other inside position guard that we want to play. So we're here, never staying in a static position, always trying to disrupt our partner's base, okay, in various directions. We find that we're having a hard time getting his hand to the floor in this direction. Maybe this guy's good, does a good job of putting that foot to the inside. Once he pushes it in, we give that little tug, right? He's going to be wanting to come towards us. We're extending him, little tug of the knees, little rotation outwards, posting on either shoulder, near shoulder, far shoulder, and then from here, knees come to the chest. Lead with your heel. So the knee comes to the chest, heel comes directly over the thigh so we can pummel it in. As he goes to recover, right back to the lat muscle, and then from there, we're in good position inside of our partner's leg. So rather than waiting for him to come back, we get a good job of getting him to support himself on his hand. We find that little opening, and we bring our feet straight to the inside, right off the knee lever.
All right, guys, so feeding again off of the previous technique and this knee lever to that inside pommel, okay? This time what we're going to do is we're going to use it as a reversal, okay? So if you guys remember from the Ashigarami instructional, we did spend a lot of time on the shin pin position. So that's essentially what we're going to do here is we're just going to utilize it to, instead of pommeling in and going straight to an Ashi, we're going to pommel it in and put him straight down to a hip into a shin pin. Okay, so we can go straight into some sort of offensive maneuver off of that. So again, we're playing with this idea where, we're pushing, we're pulling, we're having a hard time getting this guy's hands to the mat in this direction, and he's able to stuff that leg. And as he comes in towards us, we pinch the knees, we give a little tug, and then from there, we go in and we push him back, and we get that hand to the floor. Again, we're looking to maintain some distance here with this hand on the shoulder. Pull your knee slightly to your chest so that I can get my heel right over the thigh here. And then we come in and we start to get that leg in. So normally what we would do is we would kind of allow our training partner to come back in towards us, convert to the lat, knee penetrates, and we get into this position, right? What we're doing this time is I'm maintaining, you can actually stay facing this way. Good. We're going to maintain our partner on the hand here. So I did a good job of tilting him. I did a good job of moving him away so that I can get this knee to the chest and get that heel over the top. The second that I pommel the foot through, I want to keep him away from me. How am I going to do that? I'm going to do that by keeping the hand on the neck here, and I'm going to keep my knee right there in front of my training partner's stomach. And what I'm going to focus on doing is putting the toes of my left foot on the floor and punching this hand in deep as an Achilles grip. Immediately from here, I go to the lat muscle, and I aim to get my knee over the hip. And no matter how strong he goes to hold himself up, watch as I drive. And I just put his knee down to the floor. And we have him in this position here, which is going to be familiar if you guys paid attention to it in the Ashigarami instructional. All right, so from here, we have our back step options. We have our reversal options coming up in the top position. And then we also have the option to roll through an Akani Vasami. Okay, I'll demonstrate that one next. So again, we're in here. And from this position, we do a good job, however it happens, of knocking his hand down to the floor. I maintain some distance. I pummel that foot through, go straight to an Achilles grip. This hand goes to the lat, and we take this knee and we touch it on the floor over our partner's hip. Okay? Now I'm in a great attacking position. Pretty hard for your training partner to just come up in this position. Okay? He can try to come up, but there's going to be a lot of weight on the hip. And again, if he does, if you paid attention, in that last instructional, we have opportunities to utilize that as a leg entry. So this time, instead of using it to go into an Ashi, to go straight into the legs, we use it to not only open up opportunities for the legs, but do so by putting him straight down to a hip, going straight into a reversal in that strong shin pin position. All right, guys, so we're still working with this theme that we want to start off with a De La Riva, where we're in an outside position and we want to work our way into an inside position, okay? So we've looked at directing our training partner in a couple of different directions. This time, what we're going to look to do is we're going to add another direction to that. So this time, we're going to look to bump our training partner's hands overhead. So we've seen taking his hands, okay, to the non-De La Riva side. We've seen taking his hands to the De La Riva side. We've seen combining those two directions with each other. And now we're going to look to add another direction. Specifically, I would utilize this one when I feel as though my knee lever is not creating enough of an off balance, not as much as I would need to get his hand onto the floor. So what it'll look like is I'm in my outside De La Riva position. And then again, we're in this situation where, we're trying to push him, we're trying to tilt him, and then he pushes that leg to the inside, so we go to this crossed ankle position. I give a little tug, I try to roll my partner, but I can't quite get his hand to the floor, okay? So maybe I get him to step, but I can't get his hand to the floor, okay? This doesn't mean it's an unsuccessful off balance, right? Because I got a little bit of a stumble out of him, but if I just keep it like this, and then he comes back into this position, now all of a sudden I find myself in a position where he's re-established his base. He can start looking to push my shins down, and he can start looking to start setting, things up. So I always want to take advantage of, my goal was to touch his hand to the floor. It didn't work, but I still got a step out of him. A step out of him means that I broke his base to a certain degree. He is going to have to reestablish his base. So he's going to have to come back in the direction that he came from. Okay. As he's doing that, that's when we take our partner over. The reason why we're going to take him overhead for this one is because we don't get such a huge off balance that puts him to the floor. So it's a little bit more difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible. You can do it, but it's a little bit more difficult for me to insert a full De La Riva hook to where I can completely take him out to the side like we normally would. Okay, like this. So when we hit that first one that we saw where I touch the hand to the floor, he goes to come back, I can put that De La Riva hook back in and just guide him over to the side. For this one, what we're going to do is I get into this position, he pushes that foot down, we get a little stumble out of him, but it doesn't quite keep his hand on the floor. The second he goes to come back, we're just going to pull our knees to our chest and take him straight overhead with the ankles crossed. So I don't really have to change anything in my leg position. I just keep my ankles crossed and I pull him overhead. Hand goes to that lat muscle, and we should use that to get our head out to the side, turn the corner, pummel a foot to the inside, and then right from there, we can start going back into the legs, okay? So we're here, and I got to tilt, but not much of an off balance. Maybe the hand touched the floor and bounced right back up. As he's coming in, if we do it real slow, watch as how he has to step back with his left foot, and he's coming back towards me. I don't want to just stay here. I pull my knees to my chest. See how that little knee pull just starts to bring him forward? That little knee pull might not touch his hand to the floor, but I guarantee you that as I go from here to here, it'll just draw weight onto his toes, and then I extend my two legs. When I extend my two legs, I still keep my knees close to my chest, and notice that I keep a tight grip on the ankle to keep his foot off the mat, and I put a hand here. This hand here is going to allow me to keep him away from me long enough to where I can start looking to bring myself back, into a guard where I'm between his knees. And now that I'm between his knees, I can start looking to attack from this position, right? I can go for reversals. I can start throwing legs over the top for leg locks. I can start going into all the things that I normally would from an inside position guard. So the key element is, if you notice, when I go in and when I hit that initial knee lever, I start by getting weight onto his toes. I pinch the knees. I keep a good connection to my foot to the hamstring. I pull my knees to my chest with the knees pinched. If you notice if my knees aren't pinched and I pull my knees to my chest, I don't really get much of an off balance. But when I pinch them, watch as he comes towards me. All that does is it rolls the weight onto Placido's toes on this side. So if we rotate, watch as it rolls the weight from the heel pinch to the toe. You can see that I can start to create space underneath this heel. That's what enables me to get that first knee tilt to work. But you see that from here, I don't quite feel that I have the space, or he recovers quickly. We hit another knee pull. That gets weight onto the toes. And the extension of the legs makes it so that I have the space necessary to start throwing the legs in. And now we're in good position to attack from here. All right, guys, so now let's look at using our De La Riva to off-balance our partner and then go into tripod sweeps, okay? So from a De La Riva situation, again, the big challenge is getting our training partner's hand to the mat
in such a way that we can clear a path for our foot to start coming either in, okay, or over the top. So in this case, it's going to be over the top and on the hip for a tripod sweep. Everything we've seen before, we've been coming to the inside, okay, for inside position base guards. So obviously from this position, your training partner is trying to get a hold of your ankles, right? He's trying to push down on your De La Riva hooks and make it hard for you to control, hard for you to move your legs in this position. And then from here, he can start looking to transition to different types of passes. He can look to free himself from the De La Riva, start going into his Torianos, et cetera, et cetera. So the more he can use his hands to control my ankles, harder it's going to be for me to do stuff, easier it's going to be for him to do stuff. The more I can control his hands by putting them on the floor, the easier it's going to be for me to be able to go into my attacks. So as far as going into a tripod is concerned, all I need to do is create enough space for my foot to touch his hip. Getting the foot here is easy. If anything, he's going to want to start pushing my right foot down. Getting the left foot, okay, or the De La Riva foot up and over, that's the more challenging part. So we can really get our foot over the top from any one of the positions that we saw before, right? It's no different. If anything, if we create enough space, it's easier to get here probably than it is to get it all the way through, okay, and around. So as we've been able to do an inside pommel and get to an ashi or some sort of between the knees guard, with any one of the off balances we looked at, we can do the exact same thing with the tripod, right? So let's say, for example, from this position, I have my De La Riva hook, I have a foot on the inside, I tilt my partner, and I get him up and over here. Okay, I get his hands to the floor. Let's check a little bit. I get his hands to the floor. Once the hands touch the floor, I can put a foot right there on the hip. Right as my training partner goes to come back, that's when my tripod, okay, is going to come nice and easy. Okay, because again, in order for me to knock him down with a tripod, his weight has to be on his heels. It's a backwards reversal. So as I knock his hands to the floor, weight goes onto the toes. When he goes to come back, weight goes onto the heels. I just take him in the direction he's already going. This time, let's say, for example, I go in and I hit a knee lever. Tilt my partner this way. Off the knee lever, when he goes to come back, boom, right there into our tripod sweep. And we knock our training partner down to the floor. Maybe I go to hit my knee lever as we talked about. And from there, here, he bounces back. Right when he bounces back, we take him overhead. Foot goes to the hip, he goes to recover, weight goes from toe to heel, and we knock him down to the floor. Okay, and then the second we knock him down to the floor, we get him to a hip, and we're ready to start looking to come up and go into all of our passing sequences off the reversal. So the basic premise here is we can use any one of the off balances that we looked at before, and we want to really use them in combination with each other, right? We chain one with the other to create an opportunity for us to get our foot over the top, and then we just stop at the hip. So one more time. This time I'll do it chaining different off balances with each other, right? So initially, you're going to get a little bit more resistance. Get a sense for what direction your training partner is resisting you, and just take them in that direction. That's what gives you that's what amplifies the off balance. I try to take my partner this way, feel that I just can't quite do it, start moving around. Yeah, just play a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm trying to take him this way, not quite working. I take him that way. I go to come back, try to take him back in that same direction until from here, we eventually get his hand to the floor. And you can see that I'm playing all the directions on each other. I take him one way, I take him the other way. He goes to come back. I pull him overhead until eventually I can get a foot to the hip. And as he goes to replant his feet on the floor, we knock him down, control both legs, and start looking to heist up and get into top position. All right, so we're looking at the idea of using De La Riva as a means to get between our training partner's knees. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to use the same directions of off balance, the same combinations of off balance to go in and hit a knee pommel, essentially. Okay, so again, we're looking to clear way for our De La Riva leg to come from the outside to the inside. Previously, what we looked at is leading with the foot, either going between the legs and then penetrating with the knee, or going from De La Riva to foot on the hip, okay, for our tripods. Keeping all the same concepts in mind, Okay, we're going to go in and we're going to start looking to off balance our partner by whatever means necessary. And again, always stacking the off balances. So maybe I tilt the hand this way, maybe I take him that way, and then from here, eventually, if we just rotate towards the camera, and then from here, eventually, we create space for us to go in and get a foot to the hip. Super crucial from this position is that we want to make sure that his foot is off the floor and we get a good connection, particularly with this move. We have a good connection of his leg to the outside of our thigh. And a key detail here is my forearm. My forearm covers the shoelaces, right? So I don't want to have his shoelaces free where he can kind of high leg out and then I lose the leg. So I want to make sure that I use a good grip. If we rotate a little bit, flip towards the camera. A good grip that keeps this foot off the floor. I'm going to do, I use that by using my legs to keep him away from me, and I tilt onto the side of my hip. You can have your hand on the heel or on the ankle, doesn't really matter. And the main thing is that I tuck here and I have tension with his shin right up against my thigh. And this is crucial because I'm going to have to give some degree of looseness to get the knee to come inside. But if I do a good job of keeping him away, I can elevate this leg and make it hard for him to pull that leg out by use of my forearm, right? Because if it's here, now he can pull that leg out. So what I want to make sure that I do is that I use that forearm so that I can penetrate with the knee. Now I come back in, and now I'm between the knees again, underneath the hips, and I'm ready to start using this position as I normally would, okay, from the inside position. So going from outside position to inside position, only this time with a knee pommel as opposed to a foot pommel. So we're here, De La Riva, and I'm playing multiple directions, right? Maybe I'm trying to come up, it's failing. Maybe from here, he pushes that foot down, and I pull and I take him overhead. As he goes to, go ahead and recover. So I took him overhead. He puts the hands on the floor, bounces right back. As he's bouncing back, foot goes in here. Right as the foot goes in here, I take him out to the side so that I can elevate that foot. Tuck the elbow in, and I keep that frame right in front of the shoelaces. That's just going to help minimize his ability to pull that leg free. Now we extend, lift, foot goes underneath, and immediately from here, watch as my hand punches through, goes straight around the ankle, hand goes to the chest, and now we're in a good position underneath our partner. Start going into all of our attacks. We can go into reversals. We can start looking to go in and attack our training partner with ankle locks, whatever kind of submissions, whatever kind of reversals and attacks we want to go into from this position. Okay, stuff that we cover in the Ashigarami instructional. We can switch off the X guard and do stuff from the X guard instructional. Main thing is we use it to get to the inside. But it's super crucial, especially with this one, that we are extra cautious about controlling the foot because we're not just leading with that foot and coming in. We need to elevate his leg and get our knee to the inside. Also super important, you're not trying to go straight into this position. Exaggerate the off balance so you can get his hands to the floor. Even if his knee doesn't touch the floor, so for example with this one, his hands are going to go to the floor, but he's going to keep a strong wide base with the legs, right? So we come out here, we're moving him, we're tilting him, we're taking him out to the side, and we get into the position like this. Foot comes over, tuck the elbow, try to yank that leg out. Hard thing for him to do, okay? Now from here, even as he's going to come into me, I'm keeping weight off of me, and I'm using the leg pressing strength of my legs to elevate, tuck that knee in, immediately shoot the hand in. Now we're in this nice modified X butterfly ashi type position. I could transition, get at any sort of inside position, leg entanglement from here. Okay, so instead of going in with the foot, we go in with the foot to the hip, and then we enter between his legs with our knee.